to everyone for coming out on this lovely afternoon. We are here to talk about Android phones. My name is Matt. I am one of the public services librarians here at the Palos Heights Public Library. So yes, let's get going. Just a quick note, this is of course over Zoom. You can feel free to drop questions into the chat. I will pause periodically to ask for questions. So, you feel free to unmute and take a look, or unmute and just ask a question, or you can put it in the chat and I will look at it there. In the meantime, if you would be so kind as to remain muted during the presentation, just so no background noise creeps in, well, that would be great. So thank you very much. And let's get going. So first, I always start this class with a disclaimer. And the disclaimer is twofold for Android phones. The first is this information is good as of right now. They're always updating, redesigning things with these phones. So it could change tomorrow. It might look a little different, but it will generally always be along the same lines as you'll see here today. So keep that in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is with Android phones, there are a bunch of different kinds of phones and a bunch of different kinds of manufacturers, and each one looks just a little bit different. So I have a lot of screenshots in here. It probably will look different than your phone, but again, the same basic design language is used throughout all of it. So you can generally get the idea. If you don't, feel free to ask and I'll try to walk you through it. But this stuff should all be pretty basic, as it says in the title. So for the agenda, first we will start with terminology and descriptions. Then we'll talk about how to connect to Wi-Fi. We'll look around through settings. We will see what kind of apps are built in with the phone, how to use them, and then we will talk about how to find, install, and uninstall apps. And finally, we'll have a note about notifications on your phone. So we will start with the terminology and descriptions. Okay, I have screenshots for them. So an app, everyone's heard of apps, of course, but an app in this case is just a program on your phone. So all this screenshot here, all these little circles all contain apps, and you just tap on them to start them. The app drawer is something that Android phones have where sometimes if you install a new app or don't see it on your home screen, it will always be in your app drawer. And usually you get to that by just swiping up from the bottom of your phone. So if you ever don't see an app on your phone that you know you have, take a look in the app drawer, and that's where it should be. Install. When I talk about install or installing, it's the process of putting a new app on your phone. Uninstall, you might have guessed, is the process of removing an app from your phone. Notifications are the little icons at the top of the screen alerting you to a new message or something that has gone on with one of your apps. And the notification bar is the screenshot here. You can see boxed in red. Those are the notifications on this particular phone. They are housed at the top of your screen. Settings are, of course, where you control the way your phone behaves. We will look into that and all the different things you can do in the settings. A swipe, of course, means just moving your finger on the screen to activate a function, either to start an app or to move the screen around. All right, so that is the terminology. Now we will get to it with connecting to Wi-Fi. So we will use one of those terms. The easiest way to connect to Wi-Fi is to swipe down and then swipe down again. So you can see an arrow icon next to the Wi-Fi icon. So I have 3 screenshots here. Starting on the left-hand side, that is the one swipe down, the half swipe kind of, where it just shows you, it shows you the Wi-Fi icon on the left, the data connection icon next to it, so on and so forth. That's kind of your easy access settings area. So if you were to click though, the Wi-Fi icon there with just a half swipe down, it would probably turn off the Wi-Fi depending on your phone. So then you'd have to tap it again to turn it on. To actually connect to a Wi-Fi network, you need to swipe down again so that you can see, like it looks in the middle here, the entire settings menu from the swipe top down. Here you can see next to the Wi-Fi icon where the little arrow is, it says Payless Wi-Fi, and then the little arrow down. When you click the little arrow there, it shows you what you see on the right-hand screenshot, which is all the different Wi-Fi networks that are in range of your phone or tablet. You'd want to usually pick the one that is yours and then go from there. So here, if we were actually in the library, I would have you select the Payless Wi-Fi icon. So some Wi-Fi networks, as you probably know, require a password. Others just let you on. Here in the library, we have something called a gated connection, where if you were to connect to our Wi-Fi, it would open up a separate screen and say, hey, click accept to accept our terms and conditions, and we'll let you on. It is always a good practice to only connect to Wi-Fi networks you are familiar with, just because there are a lot of unsavory types out there who, they want people to randomly connect to their Wi-Fi network, and then they can kind of see what you're doing on it or steal data that you send over it. So be careful. It's probably okay to connect to, if you're in a Starbucks or a restaurant or a store somewhere, it's probably okay to connect to their official Wi-Fi. But, if you can get a data signal in one of those places, it's probably safer for you to use your data signal. However, some places like here in the library, sometimes the data is not so good. So you can connect to our Wi-Fi. It is safe, secure. And of course, when you're at home, we presume that your home Wi-Fi is also safe and secure. Any questions about Wi-Fi or anything before we move on to the next topic? And I will take a drink of water while I wait. All right, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to settings. Here, there's a couple different ways you can get to settings. You can swipe down again, you can do the half swipe. And actually, when you do that, you can see in the left-hand screenshot under the flashlight icon, which is the second from the right, there's a little gear icon. If you tap on that, it'll open up settings. You can also open up your app drawer, seen here in the middle screenshot, and find the settings button there. You can click that, and then it'll open up the settings menu, which you can see on the right-hand side in this screenshot. And from settings, you can control basically everything on your phone. You can control Wi-Fi internet. You can say, stop using mobile data if you don't want to. You can use your phone as a hotspot, which means other devices can connect through Wi-Fi to it. Probably only recommended if you're not in an area where the other device can connect to an existing Wi-Fi network. You might get some charges applied. Usually most plans include a little bit of hotspot data, but you should check to be sure. You can control Bluetooth connections here. You can control apps and notifications. Basically, this is going through, and you can specify what apps you want to tell you what. So like, if you don't want to get a notification from some app every time it tries to send something to you, or you just don't find it relevant, you can go into that area and turn off notifications from that app, or even specific notifications from that app. So, for example, the Target app, they might send you notifications of sales, but they also might say, hey, your order is ready. So you can turn off the part that says, hey, I don't really care. You don't have to tell me about each sale you have, but I do still want to know when my order is ready. So you can go in there and kind of be granular like that. The display settings are probably a big area for a lot of people. That's where you can set your wallpaper, but also, and as I get older, I find this more and more handy. You can select the font size. So, if you need the text to be a little bit bigger, you can go into the display settings and increase it or decrease it there as you like. This is also where you would find the sleep settings for your phone, which is I think another very important area. By default, I think most phones come with a 30-second sleep timer. So, you have your screen on and you set your phone down, and then 30 seconds later, if you haven't touched it, screen goes dark, and then you have to open it up again with your passcode or what have you. So you can go to that display settings and adjust to, up to never turn off, or, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you're comfortable with. The sound settings area, that is good for talking about, sometimes you want your phone to vibrate when it rings or when there's a notification. You can go in there to control that or say, no, don't vibrate at all. And you can just play around with the volume and all that. There are even more settings, but those are the main ones for now. Any questions about any of that? It's always good when you get a new phone to just kind of go into the settings, poke around, make sure everything is to your liking. All right, working with built-in apps. So your phone by default comes with a lot of apps, most of which I use on a daily basis. So the first one is Google Chrome. So it is the default Android web browser. You probably use it on a desktop browser as well. It is the predominant web browser these days. And of course, the icon on the left-hand side there, that is the Google Chrome icon. So you would tap on that. It's probably also located on the little shortcut bar along the bottom of your phone, and open it up, and that's what you'll get on the right-hand side, the default Google Chrome homepage, where you can click that little search box and either directly put in a web address you want to go to, or you can search Google. So, and the nice thing about this is, if you're on a desktop browser and you're logged in to Google Chrome with your Google account, you can share history and bookmarks back and forth between browsers. So, if you have something going on your desktop at home, it'll also be going on your phone. So you can kind of connect that way. More about Chrome. So actually, let me back up here. You can see on the right-hand side, right underneath the time in the top corner there, there's those three little dots. And that, when you press that, you get what you see here in the left-hand screenshot, the menu. So this lets you open new tabs, look at your bookmarks, look at history, look at things you've recently closed, and settings, help feedback, all that good stuff. So primarily from this menu, you'd probably want to be working with tabs, which is where you can have multiple web pages up at the same time. On the right-hand side here, I have an example of 2 tabs being open on the phone. So you access that by, when you have more than one tab open, to the left of those 3 little dots for the menu, you see a little square with the number 2 in it. As you open more tabs, that number will change, but you just hit that number 2 or whatever happens to be there, and it'll show you kind of in slide style the different web pages you have open. So here I have the library's website as well as PBS. So you can kind of navigate back and forth between which website you want to look at. Just tap on it, and that'll be that. A note about incognito tabs. That is for when you want to look at something and not have it show up in your history. So you go into incognito mode, and that means that you won't be able to find it in your history. When you close it, it'll be like you had never visited that website. So, maybe you're shopping for a significant other or something, and you don't want them to see the trail that you left in your browsing history. You can use an incognito tab and keep all that stuff secret. All right. Any questions about Chrome before we move on to Gmail? A little more about the menu here. Along the top, you can see some icons. If you click that star, that'll kind of favorite it or select it as a bookmark, which will show up in your bookmarks menu. The little circle with the eye is an info page. So if you click that, it'll tell you kind of some detailed technical info about the website. The one all the way on the right side, the little circular arrow, that would be to reload the web page. So if you think something's changed on the web page or it didn't load correctly, you can just click that and it'll reload the website. What did I not talk about here? The little menu item that says desktop site, it has a little box that is unchecked. So a lot of websites have, how they look on a computer and how they look on a phone. So usually the mobile version will be best when you're on a phone because it's optimized for that screen size. But if you really want to see what the desktop version of that website looks like, you can force it to show you the desktop site by opening the menu and checking that desktop site box. All right. Unless there's any questions, moving on to Gmail. All right, seeing none. Gmail is, of course, the default email app on Android phones. Everyone who has a Google account also has a Gmail account. And, it's a pretty robust and useful email client that they have. The icon, of course, is here on the left-hand side. It looks like the envelope with a red border. And when you open it, you will see like the middle screenshot here. This is all the emails, starting with the most recent that are in your email box. You can scroll through and it'll tell you, you can see further and further back into your email. There are a couple of things to note here. The first is the ubiquitous Google search box. Up near the top there, you can see where it says search mail. You just tap that and then put in, if there's a specific email you want to find, you can just type in a word from that email and it'll bring up all emails you've gotten with that word in it. You can type, if it's from a certain person you want to see an email from, you can just type their name in. Once you start typing their name, it should pop up an auto completion thing where you can select that person and it'll show you all the emails from that person. The other thing is so we talked about the menu in Chrome, which was the 3 little dots. Here, for whatever reason, the menu is to the left of where it says search mail. It's 3 little lines. So we call this the hamburger menu, I guess, because it looks like a hamburger. When you tap that, it opens what you see in the right-hand screenshot here, which is the different labels that Google has created. And, you can see your sent mail. If you scroll or swipe down in there, you'd be able to see your trash, your spam, all that good stuff. So this is essentially useful for navigating between different areas. So Google Gmail, when you get an email, it will try and sort it into what it thinks it should be. So emails from stores, like, again, we can say Target, Best Buy, Walmart, whatever. When you get sales emails from them, they will usually be automatically sorted into the promotions area or tab. So, an email from Facebook or some other social media network, that'll probably go into social. And updates are where certain things go, like if you have a delivery coming or something, it'll put it in the update tab. Primary is where they try to put the emails from real people. So it's just a way to unclutter your inbox, because I know I get a ton of email per day that I just, delete automatically. It's from just automated newsletters and things that I don't really care to read. So the primary inbox is reserved for keeping you in reading email that is from actual people. Sometimes it doesn't get it right. And when you're reading the email, you can say, oh no, this belongs in social, or wait, this belongs in primary, things of that nature. More about Gmail. To write an email from your phone, I direct your attention to the middle screenshot here. In the lower right-hand side, you can see a circle with a big multicolored plus. Just tap that, and you will see what you see here in the left-hand screenshot, the compose email screen. So here, the first, it says who it's from, and then you have the to area. So you just start typing in the name of the person. If they're in your contacts list, it'll auto-populate their email address. You can just tap it and move on. If you have never emailed this person before, you just type in their entire email address and you'll be good to go. There is under that subject, which is where you put the email subject, of course, and then under that where it says compose email, that's where you tap and type out the email you want to send. There are some, along the top here, there are some icons on the right-hand side. To actually send this email, you would tap the middle icon, which looks like a little arrow or paper airplane. Just hit that and it will send. The three buttons are back. So in this screen, you get the three buttons for the menu, or the three dots. So you click the three dots on the right-hand side, and then in the middle screenshot here, that shows what pops up. So you have scheduled send. And that just means, hey, if you want this email to send out at a different time, you can tell it when to send it. That might be good. I don't know, maybe you're up in the middle of the night and sending an email and you don't want people to know you're sending it in the middle of the night. You can say, send this at 9 a.m. Or, whatever works best for you. Add from contacts, that's just, you can scan through your contacts and add people from that to your who the email is going to. There is a confidential mode, which it's tricky because everything on the internet, there are copies made. But this tries to say, I'm going to send this email, but it's not going to be in your sent folder or what have you, to try and just make it a little bit more secret. If you had typed anything into the email, you would be able to save it as a draft. You could discard the email, say, you know what, I don't want to send this. You hit discard and it'll just go away. And so instead of being in your drafts folder, it would just totally go away. There is a settings menu, which this is a basics class. I'm not really going to get into it, but there is some stuff there that you can fiddle around with if you like. I've never actually used the settings menu from an email. I don't find that I actually need to fiddle with anything. Okay. Then the right-hand screenshot here shows a menu that pops up when you click the little paperclip icon that you see in the left-hand screenshot. So this is mostly for attaching files. And usually if it's an email from your phone, you'll be attaching a picture. So you just click attach file, and then it'll show you, a little file directory on your phone. You can click on whatever it is you want to attach, and it will send it along with the email. Insert from Drive means everyone who has a Google account has a Gmail account and a Google Drive account. Google Drive is kind of an online cloud storage area, so that's where, if you are familiar with Google Docs, that's where all that stuff lives, or you can upload things to it. So if you have a file on Drive, you can click Insert from Drive and attach it to the email that way. You can also send and request money. I have never done this, but maybe you need to send someone some money or ask someone for some money. You can do that with that menu. So I'm going to pause here for any questions. I do have a question going back to talking about Chrome, which was, what is the incognito tab again? And the incognito tab is for, let me explain it this way. So usually, whenever you go to a website or you type in something into search, that shows up in your history. So there's a way for you to go into the web browser menu and say, you're like, last week I went to this website and I don't remember what it was. You can look in through your history and it'll show you where you've been. and then you can click and go there. The incognito tab basically takes that away. So it does not save to your history. It doesn't, a lot of times too, when you're typing in a website that you've been before, it'll autocomplete. So, if you're going to the Chicago Tribune, when you start typing in CHI, it might autocomplete, the rest of chicagotribune.com, and you can just go to it. But if you're in an incognito tab, whatever you go to in that tab will not show up when you either are doing your history or as like an autocomplete thing when you're typing in a website address. So that is basically what it's for. It's for if you want to be kind of secret squirrel on your device. Hopefully that answers the question. If you need more info, let me know. And I will pause here again for questions about anything while I take another sip of water.
Matt, how can you delete quickly through Gmail?
Okay, that is a good question. Let me go back. So when you have, you just open up Gmail, the default screen is here in the middle. It's just the big list of your emails. Everyone next to their name, you can see has kind of a big letter in a circle. If they have, a Google icon, it'll be that icon instead of the letter for their name. But what you would do is tap and hold down on that icon. And once you do that, every other icon, big circular icon you tap, that'll get a check mark next to it. And then a menu will pop up that says delete, move to another folder, things like that. So that is what you would do to quickly delete a bunch of emails.
Thank you. That's always bugged me about Gmail, trying to delete.
It can be tricky because they don't really tell you that. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Good question. And we can talk about messages or texting. So, and the same applies here. You click on all these or tap on all these big icons next to your text messages, and you can do the same thing. Batch, move, or delete. So depending on your phone, texting will either be called messages or texting. It shouldn't be anything else, but usually the icon will look something like this, a little blue circle with kind of a speech bubble in it. And that's for texting. So you click that. The default screen is the middle screenshot here. To start a new text, of course, you would click where it says start chat. And again, you just scroll through and tap on, you can see all your other texts and whatnot. When you actually click on a text, you get what you see here in the right-hand screenshot, which is just the history of whatever that person or phone number has been texting you. Here, seen, I guess, a bunch of stuff from my kid's school. So, and of course, another big Android navigation thing, you can see in the right-hand side screenshot along the top, like it says 60680, that's the number that was texting, and there's an arrow there. You tap that arrow to go back, and that takes you back to the main menu there. There's also a phone icon where, if it's from an actual person, you can click that to call them. And of course, the 3-dot menu along the right side. If we were to click that, we see what we see here in the left-hand screenshot, which is the first thing is add contact. So if someone who you have never texted with before texts you and you actually want them to text you, you can click add contact, and then it will take their number, and then you just write in, okay, this is Bob from down the street. This is his mobile number. You can add in email address, mailing address, whatever, and save that as a contact in the future. You can get details about the message, like, just how many there are, when it was sent, all that. Search allows you to search through, if you have a long texting history with someone, you can search through it and find some specific conversation or date. You can archive the text, which is, it doesn't get deleted, but it doesn't show up in your main menu of texts anymore. If it's an old conversation you're done with, but you don't want to delete it, you can kind of take it out of your eyesight that way. You can also delete the text. So, a lot of times I get text spam from, what or whoever, and I just don't care about it. So you can delete that using the delete button. Help and feedback just is if you need help, takes you to the Google Help page. In the middle here, this is what it looks like when you click that Start New Chat button. It's a new conversation, and you just get going by typing in a person's name, phone number, or email. And it'll give you some contacts, some suggestions. So, here I have dad cell, Eric, home, Kevin. It doesn't know that the home number is not able to be texted because it is a computer, but it puts that up there anyway. So, if I'm like, oh, I just want to text Eric, I just hit Eric and it auto fills in his name and I'm good to go. However, you can add as many people as you want. If you want it to be a group conversation, though, you would tap Start Group Conversation and then just add in whoever you want by either typing their name. And again, like in Gmail, it should autocomplete if they're already in your contacts list. If they're not, put in their phone number. And once you're done, you see what it looks like on the right-hand side here, where apparently I've selected to text at home, which will do nothing. But just for an example, like that's what it looks like when you select someone and then you put in your message and you hit, once you're actually type something there, that little SMS button with an arrow on the right-hand side of the screen, that will turn blue or some other color, again, depending on your phone. And you just tap that and it will send the message. Now let me see. Okay. The other thing here is you can see next to the text message box on the right-hand side, there are two little circular icons. The first is a plus, and that would, you tap that and that allows you to attach things. But since usually what people are attaching to texts is pictures, they have just a quick attach a picture button, and that is the one with the little camera icon. So you tap that and it will bring up both your camera screen, so you can actually like live take a picture and send it that way, or along the bottom it will also open up your photo roll, so you can scroll through other pictures that you've taken and just tap them to attach them. The thing to note about Android messaging, text messaging, is that it's different from Apple texting or using, a text chat app like WhatsApp or Slack, in that it is very limited. So I know Google is trying to fix this, but if sometimes I just have these adorable pictures of pets or children that I have to send out to people, or videos of them. If I were to send a video over text on my Android phone, it would show up to the other person almost unwatchable, just because there's a data limit through the Android style of texting. So it really condenses the videos down, and they're very pixely, blocky. You can hardly tell what's going on. So if you were going to send a video through Android, I would recommend doing it through either email or an actual chat app like WhatsApp or Slack or Facebook Messenger, whatever you happen to prefer. So that's been for a long time something that people have had a real issue with Android, and they're trying to fix it, but they haven't really gotten there yet. All right. Any other questions about texting or anything before I get to photos? Okay. Seeing and hearing none. Photos. The Google Photos app is the default Photos app on Android phones. And that's what the icon looks like on the left-hand side. And once you tap that, you get what you see here on the right-hand side, which is just a row of all the pictures you've taken recently. a grid, I should say. If you scroll up from there, it will go show you the older photos. There are a bunch of different icons on the bottom. Photos is, of course, the main photo library. You click that to get back to the photo library. There's also albums, assistant, and sharing. And we will get to those eventually. But right now, if you were to just click on a photo or tap on a photo, it would blow up and it would look like what you see on the left-hand side here. Wow, these pictures are old. I guess it's been a while since I made this. Anyway, so there are several different things you can do once you have the photo blown up to look at. The first, of course, on the upper left-hand side, you can go back to the library. You can, over on the right-hand side, you can star it. There's also those 3 dots, but before we get to that, we will talk about the icons along the bottom of the screen here. We have, okay, so there's 3 dots connected by lines. That is kind of the universal icon for sharing. So you're like, hey, this photo is just too adorable. I need to send it out to people. You tap that share button and you get what you see here in the middle screen. And you can choose who to share it with and how to share it. So in the middle screen along the bottom, there are different ways to share. So there's create link, which is where you could just send somebody a link and they open that link and it brings up that picture. There's shared album, which is where you can just send someone a link to an album that you have and they'll be able to access it. Usually what you'll want to do though is just send it. If you scroll over, you can see more things you can send with, but you would tap Gmail to just directly attach it to an email to send. If you want to send it through a different app like WhatsApp or Google Hangouts, which I have here, you just tap that and it automatically opens that app and attaches the photo and you just say, I want it to go to this person. It does have right above there, you can see like a row of icons with people's email addresses or Google accounts, and you can scroll through there and say, I want to send it to this person, and it'll just send it straight to that person. All right, and then you see the actual picture itself has a little blue check mark next to it, and you can see other photos to either side of it. You can scroll through to either side and keep tapping. If you want to send more than one picture, you can do it that way, and it will all be sent as one. So what else? The left-hand side screenshot here, that's what happens when you click, again, see, it's weird doing this over Zoom because I don't have a big screen behind me where I can point. But on the left-hand side screenshot, the second icon from the left there, it looks like little sliders, 3 lines with little other lines on them. That's the editing button. So if you click edit, it takes you to what you see here on the right-hand side, which is, you see underneath the picture, it says original, then auto, then West. And then, if you were to scroll through, you could see more filters. Usually I only mess with original and auto. Auto would take this picture and, if it's in low light or poor light, it would try to do what it can to make it look better, basically. So it runs it through its little computer algorithm and says, hey, this probably looks better than the original picture. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's up to you. Where it says West, and then further on, there's different filters like sepia, whatever. You can go through and apply those different color filters to your picture because maybe you're going for a certain look. The other thing to note here, at least the most useful one for me, is along the very bottom, there is, it's kind of the third one from the left. It looks like, there's little arrows inside of a little box. That's for cropping and rotating. So if you were to click that, that would bring up an option to, I only wanted my daughter in this picture. I could kind of tap and slide the picture to the boundaries I want. Or, a lot of times what happens to me is I'll take a picture, but it'll be 90 degrees off from where I want it to be. You tap that little edit button there, and it'll just have one button where you say rotate 90 degrees this way, and you should be good to go.
Matt, I've got, my screen looks, on my phone looks different than yours, but when I've got all my photos up in the corner, there's my signature circle, which is a P.
Yeah.
And then it's got a slash through the cloud. So if I click on that, it says I don't have backup turned on. I could
Okay.
back up to my Google account. How does that work?
So that is something you would find in settings. And that is a great question because usually backup is turned on by default, but sometimes it's not. So basically what that means is, and again, everyone who has a Google account has a Google Photos account, and everyone who has a Google account has, I think it's 15 gigabytes worth of free data storage. So when you back up photos through Google, it goes to photos.google.com. So it's really handy because, if you're on a desktop computer, you can go to photos.google.com and see all the pictures you've taken on your phone. You can see them on a computer. If for whatever reason you want to do that. And it is also very handy because if you lose your phone or, you get a new phone, all the pictures you've taken are already backed up. Whenever you sign into your new phone, you can automatically see them. So depending on your phone, when there's, you click that little cloud that has a slash through it, it should take you to an area, or at least allow you to get to an area where you can turn on backup. If not, go to your settings and find it'll be either under backup or the specific settings for Google Photos. Under the app settings, go there and turn backup on. I would definitely recommend doing that. Just because, I'm always dropping my phone or leaving it somewhere. And if I didn't back up my photos, they'd just be gone. So.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, again, sometimes it's on by default when you get a new phone, sometimes it's not. So be sure to check that. All right, any other questions about photos before we get to calendar?
Yes, I have a question. It has to do with, you just mentioned getting a new phone,
Yeah.
But my phone is old and I happen to like it, and it's a 4G. Is it going to have to go away at the end of the year when they implement 5G?
No. 5G is already around.
I know, right?
The hot new thing, but I would say 90% of the phones out there are still using 4G or LTE, they sometimes call it.
Mm-hmm.
So, before 4G was, of course, 3G. But before that was Edge, or 2G, also called Edge. I think they just a couple of weeks ago shut off the 2G Edge stuff. And that is like real old. So, there's still 3G is still on. It will be for the foreseeable future. 4G, that is going to be around for a very long time. So you definitely don't have to worry about that.
Thank you.
Unless
I just have to learn how to use it.
Yeah, there you go. I have a question in the chat. Are you satisfied with Samsung Gallery as well as Google Photos? I have seen Samsung Gallery. I had a Samsung phone for a while. I personally always just default to using the actual Google apps just because I guess that's my preference. The Samsung Gallery app is fine. And in fact, sometimes it let me, edit photos or do things in a way that the actual Google Photos app didn't. So if you have a Samsung phone, you have the option. It comes with both Samsung Gallery and Google Photos. you know, like I said, because Google everything is linked and connected, I just found it easier to use Google Photos. Um, yeah, there's no problem with Samsung Gallery. It, you know, does a lot of the same stuff as far as being able to share photos. Um, it's just, you know, a different app from a different company. So try them both, see which one you like best, and go with that one. And then if, you know, like I said, if something doesn't work on one, check it out on the other, because I don't remember what it was, but for some reason, Samsung Gallery app was able to do some things that the default Google app was not. All right, great questions. And now we'll talk about the calendar. The Google Calendar is, the icon is on the left-hand side here. Of course, it looks like a calendar. And you know, the number should change with the date. This is also accessible from a desktop computer. Go to calendar.google.com. And you know, so this is handy because I know a lot of the times I'm at my desktop computer and I find inputting data on my phone to not be a super great experience. So usually I will do all the calendar work at a desktop computer and it will just show up in my phone in the calendar app. So, but that's not to say that you can't add data here. And there are several ways to do that. So in the middle screenshot here, it defaults to a one-day view. But you can click in the top left there. Here we have the hamburger menu again and the 3-dot menu. So it's, you know, extra confusing there. But if you hit that hamburger menu, the 3 lines, it'll pop out what you see here on the right-hand side, which is where you can change the view. So by default, it's set to day. You can change it to 3-day, week, month. And there you go. You know, whatever you think looks best. On a phone screen, it does get a little busy when you go to week or month. But again, it's up to you. There's also different calendars that you can select. Like here I have events, reminders, D&D folks calendar. That is, so you can see different things from those calendars showing up on in your calendar view. Again, in the middle there, you can see, you know, I took this screenshot at 11:04 a.m. So there's that little black bar right at 11, and that advances as time goes on. So you can say, oh, hey, this is where we're at in the day with these events. Here are the other views. Here is, you know, the week view on the left-hand side, the month view in the middle. And you know, you can get a little busy, but also it can, you know, just at a glance, tell you what you need to know. On the right-hand side here, it shows you what happens when you click the plus. So in the other 2 screenshots in the bottom right-hand corner, you see again that little white circle with the multicolored plus inside. When you tap that, you can either create a new event, create a new reminder, or create a new goal. So that's, you know, reminders are something I really like about phones because I forget everything. So setting a reminder on my phone, or even, you know, using the voice assistant has helped me a lot. But of course, the default thing is to create a new event. And you can do that either by clicking that plus or by clicking an open area on the calendar. So in the default calendar view, if you were just to tap in an open area, you would get what you see in this left-hand screenshot here, which is kind of a little empty box. And then below, you can tap where it says add title. You can tap there to say what the event is. You can tap under that where it says today, 12:30 to 1:30 to change the date and time. You can add other people to it if you want. You can also, if you go from that plus menu or you swipe up on that little squib on the bottom on the left-hand side, you get what you see in the middle. So here you get to say, this is the title. These are the times I wanted to go through. As of course the different times we're in. And right where it says does not repeat, if you tap there, you can say, oh no, this does actually repeat every week or every day or every 2 weeks, whatever you want. And you can set it there. very helpful for, you know, putting together a work schedule or a, you know, a regular appointment schedule. And then once you're done, you click the blue save button at the top right-hand side, and that's what it shows you. Matt work 9 to 5, repeats weekly on Friday. So that's just so I don't have to keep putting in Matt work every Friday. You see underneath, it also has a little bell that says 10 minutes before. So that means 10 minutes before that event, I'm going to get a notification that I start work in 10 minutes. Not really very useful because I live further than 10 minutes away from work, but I never turned it off. But yeah, if you tap that, you can say, don't remind me, or remind me an hour before, 2 hours, whatever you want. So that also is handy, and it shows you, you know, it's showing up on my Google Calendar. That's the calendar that is on. All right, anything about calendars before we move on to contacts? Seeing none. Contacts. An important part of your phone. The icon, you know, looks like a little person. And basically, anytime you interact with someone on your phone or from your desktop, you know, if you email someone new and save them as a contact, they'll show up in the contacts on your phone. You know, you can find all their info here. So if you want to add a contact, you just, again, you look to the bottom right and you see that little plus icon. You click that, and now you see what we see on the right-hand side, which is the first name, last name, phone. You select if it's a home phone, work phone, mobile phone. You can add more phone numbers. You can add more email addresses, mailing addresses, all that stuff. Where it says more fields, that's where you can select what else you want to add. Once you are done doing that, you can click the save button. If you get an email or a text from someone and click add contact, it will, to the best of its ability, fill in as much of that information as it can. So, you know, if you get an email from someone, from Bob Jones, and you added their contact, you know, it would say Bob Jones and their email address. And then if you wanted to, you could put in their phone number. And then, of course, you can scroll through and find your contacts. If you wanted to know somebody's, what's their number or what's their email, you get to access it that way. Next up, using your phone as a phone. How about that? Of course, you know, usually it'll look like a little phone icon, and once you tap it, it'll bring up a menu, and right here, this defaults to voicemails. So it shows voicemails you've gotten yesterday or today, if there was one, or, you know, recent calls. I'm sorry, this defaults to recent calls. Along the top of the screen there, you can see a little row of icons underneath search contacts. Right now, there's a little red line under it looks like a clock, that's showing you your history of calls. So, of course, next to that, there's the little people button, that'll be contacts, and next to that, it looks like a tape. That's where you will find your voicemails. But, you know, you can scroll through, you can access everything. If you actually want to make a call, you can just type here on the little circle icon at the bottom with the little phone number .grid, and that will bring up what you see here on the left-hand side. And you can just type in the number and hit the little green call button at the bottom. And when you do that, it should show you something that looks like what you see on the right-hand side, which is where you can control how the call goes. You can mute it. You know, if you're calling a directory and you need to type in numbers, you can hit keypad and it will bring up the keypad, and you can hit 2 for, you know, the operator or whatever. Speaker is to turn on and off the speakerphone. And where it says add call, that is once the call is actually connected and made, if you want to add another phone number to it, you can click that and call someone else and loop them into the call. And of course, the big red hang up button there at the bottom of the screen. All right. Any questions about the phone before we get into finding and installing new apps? Here's one. On my contacts page, I am not able to go to the J's or the R's or the W's. As on the right side of my phone, there are only dots. How do I get the letters to show that I can just go to a particular alphabet and having to scroll down and continually pause the listing as I search for a contact that begins with M, for instance? Okay, so a lot of times, if you have contacts on your phone, it'll show, along the right side of the screen, if you tap, you can go to R or whatever right away instead of having to scroll through. Sometimes it doesn't work, and it looks like it's not working for you in this instance. Let me go back to contacts. I would work around that by, you can see up in the top right here, there's a little magnifying glass. If you tap that and hit R, it'll filter down to just things that start with a R. So, if you add another letter, if you have a bunch of R's, you can add 2 or 3 letters, and it'll keep narrowing it down to people with those letters in their name. So if for whatever reason it doesn't work when you try and click along the side, just search, and it should let you quickly get to them that way. All right, finding and installing apps. So those apps that we just talked about, they're all built in. They come with your phone by default, but there are, of course, thousands of other apps available that you can search for through. The default is the Google Play Store, which the icon is here. If you're on a Samsung, they also have, the Samsung App Store. Again, it's up to you. I usually just use the default Google thing, mostly because, if I get a new phone and it's not a Samsung, all that stuff will still be available to me through the Google Play Store. Okay, so they have different, once you open it, it looks like this, which you see on the right-hand side. Games, apps, movies and TV, books, you can get anything you want, they want to sell you. Or, a lot of apps are free. So you can scroll through there. You can see they have underneath games, apps, movies, and TV and books. It says For You, top charts, new events. That's just different categories you can do. So, For You just means like, oh, you have these kind of apps on your phone already. It tries to show you similar apps that you might be interested in. You can also look at the top charts. So you can say like, oh, hey, what's popular? It'll show you the top 10 for paid apps, free apps, and top grossing, which means the top apps that make money after people download them. You can filter it to new, or you can just, in there where it says Google Play, just search for the app you want. Once you find the app you want, you can click on it. Here on the left-hand side, I have clicked on Spotify. And if it's free, you can just click install, and it'll say, are you sure? Yes, it'll download to your phone. Underneath that, you can see it has, 4.6 star rating, 15 million reviews, and 500 million plus downloads. So that's a lot of downloads. It'll show you the rating for the app. Underneath that, you can see screenshots, so you can scroll through to see what the app looks like. If you were to keep scrolling underneath that, there is a description of it, as well as what it can see on your phone. So, sometimes apps, they have to be able to access, Spotify would have to be able to access your speakers, so to say, could do that. Be careful, because a lot of apps will look at a lot of things that you wouldn't think they'd look at. So, your contacts, your browsing history, all that stuff, and just collect all this data on you. So if it's kind of, not a very popular app, or it looks kind of sketchy, just be wary of those permissions that that it gives itself, that when you install them. You might want to look for a different app if you don't like the look of it that does something similar. If an app is not free, you will see what I have here on the right-hand side, marine traffic ship positions, Costs $6. So if you really want to know where a bunch of cargo ships are, you would click the $5.99, and then a little menu on the bottom would pop up there where it says, hey, this is $5.99 plus tax. You got to do an additional step to buy it. So you click one tap buy, and then it will start downloading after it has charged whatever payment method you have on file with Google. Let's see. Oh, the contact search method I said did not work. Sorry about that. Depending on your phone, again, I would look around for different methods to search through contacts. You might want to, you can make certain contacts favorites, which would come to the top. You might want to do that if there are people you talk to frequently. You can favorite them, and then they should just be right at the top. If that doesn't work either, I'm sorry. Like I said, different devices, different setups with these Android phones. Another question here, how do we know if an app will take our information and share it? How do we know when an app takes up too much space? So I don't have a screenshot of it. But when you're looking at an app and scrolling through the description of it, it should say, permission is needed or something about permissions. And that will show you all the different information it looks at. If it says it collects your contact information or, your browsing habits or whatever, I would just take that to mean they're going to collect that information and they're going to sell it to somebody, so you can get ads or whatever. So, I mean, it happens all the time. So, all of our information is probably already siphoned off by someone somewhere. Not least of which is Google itself. Because, there's all these ads in Gmail or, in the web search and all that. But just be aware, if you want to lessen the amount of data you have out there, pay attention to the permissions that different apps will give itself when you install it. How do we know when an app takes up too much space? Again, in the description of the app, it will say how big it is. So just be wary of that. And then in your settings, like we talked about earlier, there is a section for storage, and that'll show you kind of a list of the apps you have, how much storage space they're taking up, and all that good stuff. So check that frequently as well, just to make sure you're not running out of room on your phone. That, by the way, is another good way or another good reason to back up your photos. Is photos take up a lot of space. So if you're backing them up to the Google Cloud, they're not living on your phone, they're living in the cloud. So they're not taking up space on your phone. Great questions. I'm liking this. Updating apps. So frequently apps get patches because they work out bugs, they add new features. And you can see in the left-hand screenshot, or the one right underneath updating apps where the arrow is pointing to, that is the Google Play Store icon. And usually if you see that, it means that there's an app to update available. So when you tap on that, it would actually take you straight to the right-hand screenshot that says, hey, all these apps are here, they need to be updated. You can also do it manually by opening up the Google Play Store app, clicking the three lines, the hamburger icon on the left-hand side, and then going where this arrow shows, My Apps and Games. And that will again take you to the right-hand side. The middle screenshot shows what the actual notification shows you. So, and if you were to tap on that where it says 3 new updates, it would also take you to the right-hand side where I have auto updates turned off just because I like to see each update and see what it's doing. So you can click update all, and if you have 3 updates like I do here, it'll update all of them at once. You can manually click update if you just want to go one at a time. And you can see next to the update buttons by each of those 3 apps, there's little arrow pointing down. if you click on that, it'll say what it's doing, what the update is. So usually, if it's just, an app and it's a bug fix patch or an update, it'll just say, oh, we're continually updating this experience to be better and smoother for you. Sometimes it will actually say, oh, we fixed this bug, we fixed that bug, or we added this new feature. So yeah, if you are curious, you can look there. Uninstalling apps, and again, we're past the 3 o'clock hour here, so I will just keep going. But if you have questions, put them in the chat or shout them out. But getting into uninstalling apps, if you decide you don't want an app anymore, you can, again, go to that My Apps and Games section of your Google Play Store app. And along the top there, next to where it says updates, it says installed. So you can click that and it shows you right there, 42% of storage used. They have 33 gigabytes free. And then you can go through the list of your apps. And then don't click open, but if you find one you want to uninstall, you can tap on it. And then it'll show you what you see here in the middle. You can click uninstall and it will say, do you really want to uninstall this? And you say yes, and then it'll get rid of it. The other way to do this is if it is, on your home screen, you can just tap on the icon. There's my finger. Tap on the icon for it. Just hold it there for a minute and it should kind of bounce and you'll be able to move it around on your phone. Once you start doing that, you can either move it to a different position on your home screen or drag it up to where the red arrow is, where it says uninstall, and you can uninstall it that way. So that way is probably a little easier. If you know where it is on your home screen and you want to get rid of it, then going, combing through the menu of apps you have installed. But that's the beauty part. You can do it any way you are most comfortable with. Volume. So there should be physical buttons on the side of your phone for volume. Once you click that, depending on what you're doing, it'll let you set the volume. So, if you don't have any apps open, it should by default just let you adjust the volume of the ringer. If you are watching, a YouTube video, it should by default be adjusting the volume of the video. You can also adjust this by clicking the volume, and then there's that little arrow in the left-hand screenshot on the right-hand side. If you were to click that, you'd get what you see in the middle, which is all the different volume sliders, and you can, play with them there. So not just what you happen to have open at this time. Finally, on the right-hand side here, we can see where in the settings menu, if you click on sounds, you can then click on volume, and it'll show you, here, this is just in the sound menu itself. Some phones, they have a separate volume menu. You can adjust everything from there. So, yeah, I know volume can be tricky sometimes because you think you're lowering one thing, but you're actually lowering the volume of something else. So take a look. And finally, a note about notifications. Don't let them stack up. I know a lot of times when people come into the library here and say, oh, something's going on with my phone, take a look at it. They just have, here you can see on the left-hand side screenshot, I have 3 notifications in my notification bar. A lot of times that bar will just be filled and filled and filled and filled. And those are all things that, your phone is trying to tell you. So you don't want to ignore those. If you slide down from the top, you will see what you see here in the left-hand screenshot, which is all the different notifications you have. So from that menu, you can either swipe it away, say, I don't really care. You just swipe it left or right. It'll go away. Some of them, like if it's from Gmail, you can archive it or reply to it right from the notification bar. Or if you tap on it, it would open up that email in Gmail. I have Amazon photos here underneath that telling me that screenshot has been updated or uploaded to Amazon, as well as Google. And then I have a final notification there saying, oh, this screenshot was just captured. So yeah, just take a look. Make sure you're up to date on all your notifications and things like that, just because you don't want to miss anything that might be important. All right, that is that. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, unmute, ask them, whatever. I'm I'm here all day. So, keep them coming. But that is the end of the class. Like I said, this is being recorded. We will post it to our YouTube page once it processes and all that. We have some of our other online classes coming up here, like Meet Our Online Resources. That one is about the different databases we have that you, as a library card holder, can freely access. Should be pretty interesting. We got some cool new ones. Then coming up in May or in April as well, we have Internet Basics. Then looking to May, we have LinkedIn Basics. And then something new we have at the library that hasn't actually debuted yet, but we have, all right, is it Niche Academy? Is it Niche Academy? Whatever you like to say. It's kind of a little video classes that are coming soon to our homepage. So we will talk about that. So, all right. Again, thanks everyone for coming out. If you think of something later that you have a question about, feel free to email me. Just reply to the email you got the Zoom link in, and I will do my best to answer your question. But thanks, and have a great day.